So here's where we get to some pretty deep and important ideas. We talked about how these opposing forces in nature are reconciled by nature herself, by the way the world works. But that which keeps this pain alive in us, that storm seed sitting down there waiting to surface when the events allow it to, that seed down there, when it surfaces, when it suddenly gets up there and the suffering starts over what it's doing, we have all this time taken part in its play. Every time that pain appears and is justified first by the existence of what is recollected by that image that's called up in the mind, and then the subsequent set of associated thoughts and feelings that flood in to support that and seemingly give us a plan, a way to feel like everything's going to work out or at least justify ourselves, that clearly doesn't work and never produces balance. So the question is, what does? And we hinted at it. We hinted at it when we talked about how when the opposites are balanced, how they don't create that third balancing force, but reveal it. This is what we have to do in our life when the storms come, when the pains that have never healed appear. We have to understand that the only way that these sorrows, these griefs, these worries, these fears, these pressing pains, the only way they're ever going to be truly healed, balanced, is when we take them, now what does it mean them? Get this, me and my pain. Me and what I'm angry about. See, the me that is angry believes it's different than the anger it's expressing. The me that's worried believes that it's somehow different than what it's worried over. The me that's afraid of what might happen tomorrow believes that it's different than the fear that it has. But as an example of opposites, you can't have a fear about tomorrow without having embraced something imagined negatively. No negative imagination, no identification with that picture, no pain, no fear. So the self that appears in that moment and whatever it says is causing that pain, they are one thing. But they don't know they're one thing. This is the classic description of what it means to have a divided mind and a self that is always identified with its own content. Once we recognize that the moment this appears, we can do the beautiful work of turning all of that nature over to that which is greater than itself. Now, what is greater than that set of opposites? We talked about it. That which is always there prior to their appearance. We can call it whatever you want. We can call it the wisdom of intelligence. We can call it perfect balance. We can call it God. We can call it the Christ. We can call it truth, living light. The key isn't what we call it. The key rests in whether or not we will call upon that in those moments. So that we can see, as we've been discussing, that here is obviously a collision of something. Opposites have collided. My plan, the way the world turned. Your facial expression, my demand for respect. Here are material things, thoughts actually colliding with one another, and in the collision producing that storm. And when the storm is there, then the storm seeks ways to balance itself by doing what? Calling on the very stuff that produced it in the first place. Now, those opposites are created, aren't they? Do you understand that? They're created. They exist as part of our particular life because everybody here is filled with different kinds of experiences. The thing that causes a storm in this woman or that man is not the same thing that causes a storm in this person or that person. Which means that the material of ourselves, which is what? Our past experiences, isn't it? Isn't that the material of self? It is. That's created, and it's been created by a mind. It's been created by a nature that always forms an image in order to understand the event. The created cannot resolve and balance the created. Thought can never reconcile thought. Only what is uncreated can reconcile what is created.